2022 goes down in history as the year Nigeria witnessed devastating floods which killed more than 600 persons and displaced about 1.5 million citizens across 34 states of the Federation. The degree of devastation that trailed this year's flooding in Nigeria surpassed what was seen in 2012, taking a huge toll on public health, education, transportation, food security, and the livelihoods of citizens. On this episode of 30 Minutes, we shall be looking at the effects of the floods, which may have receded but left so many puzzles for government to solve, and what needs to be done to avert such disasters in future. My name is Mitaire Ikben. Welcome to 30 Minutes on NTA News 24. The clock is ticking. Not even the predictions and early warnings from relevant agencies of government could stop the flood waters, which reached rooftop levels in many states of the Federation. People in many towns and communities are still struggling to recover from the scale of destruction, as we shall see in this report by Thomas Ogbetere.
The 2022 floods in Nigeria affected 34 out of 36 states in the country, with Benue, Kogi, Bayelsa, Delta, Anambra, and Kano listed among states that were worst hit, while millions of persons have been displaced.
We have about 2 million persons affected, and then we have about 900,000 people displaced. We have about 500 deaths, and we have about 2,300 injured. And then when we are talking about partially damaged houses, we have about 69,000. And then when we are talking about fully damaged houses, we have over 78,000. And then when we are talking about the farmland, that's the partially damaged, we have over 108 acres. And then when we are talking about the total damage farmland, we have over 98,000 acres.
Joan Morgan, whose village, Udaba Iperi, in Esako local government area, was badly affected in Edo State, says in her community, over 20 persons who died as a result of the floods could not even be buried immediately, as there was no land to do so until the flood water receded.
No grave to bury them because the whole community is flooded with water. As a result of this, they are now being transported to Auchi Mortuary, Fuga Mortuary, and Jetu Mortuary.
In Elu community in Isoko North local government area, and Araya, Uzere, and Aviara communities in Isoko South local government area, all in Delta State, the cases were not different, as some victims who recounted their ordeals say their farms as well as other means of livelihood worth millions of naira were destroyed by the flood.
I lost over 2,000 beds in my poultry. At the same time, my uncle, who at times helps in taking care of his fish farm, lost over 4,000 heterotis, that is known as flatfish, and over 10,000 tilapia. Our own is a far cry to what happened to others in the farm. Almost all the farmland was submerged by water. As we're talking now, we don't have any feed, any gari, because gari is our staple food here. We don't have anywhere to put cassava now. All the cassavas are rotten.
A federal lawmaker from the southeastern part of the country narrates how the flood also ravaged that part of the country.
These floods not only washed away houses and killed people, but washed away massive farmlands.
The situation in Bayelsa State was particularly pathetic. Prosper Eweka, fish farmer in Sagbama local government area of Bayelsa State, lost his business to the floods, while his house was also submerged and his entire family displaced for weeks.
The farmers here, they can produce what can be enough to feed the state. But right now, the disaster has caused them so much, they have lost their goods, their farm product.
Jigawa was also among the states worst hit in the northern part of the country, as the level of devastation resulted to the proliferation of IDP camps in the state, just as crucial roads were destroyed by the flood, causing disruption of socio-economic activities.
This year flood is like it's just for Jigawa when it started around July, August. And it's almost all the local governments in Jigawa were affected.
While relevant government agencies have taken several proactive steps towards ensuring the welfare of those affected by the flood across the country, some victims are still calling on government to come to their aid.
It will shock you to know that even snakes and frogs now lives with people in their homes because they now creep into the houses in the water and people are now killing snakes on a daily basis. So we are calling on the government, calling on authorities to please come to our aid. Provide us with, if possible, relief materials. And if the government can as well, because this incident happened in 2012 and is repeating itself again. And nobody knows tomorrow. This is a riverine area for crying out loud. And if the government can as well help us with IDP camp.
Everybody is affected. Throughout the period, they were using canoe from one end of the community to another. So there is no single stem of cassava which anybody is going to even uproot by next year. And I will appeal to the government that you come to the aid of Uzere community, the aid of Uzere people, especially me who is a retiree who have no source of income.
We give them food because they can't even do what they normally do to get what they will eat. So you need to keep their soul together for that period. They've already been devastated by flood, so you don't need to add to it. We need to give them a relief that give them succor. So we give them relief in terms of food. We give them non-food items in terms of toiletries, in terms of clothing, in terms of buckets that they will need for that period. Most of the times we give them stove and pots, plates to cook the food.
The degree of devastations becomes apparent as major highways has been washed out, making them impassable for motorists and even commuters. This is seriously taking a toll on socio-economic activities, and it is said to contribute to the inability to distribute petroleum products to some parts of the country.
So we are appealing to the federal government to come and rescue that road network so that the State government hopefully will be able to find it very easy to run their business and visit the headquarters.
It has not been easy because you find out that a journey that is supposed to take you 3 hours, it now takes you 5 to 6 hours. You will end up seeing that it is the citizens that are now finding solutions for themselves.
Experts note that although flooding has its natural causes, like heavy rainfall, the effect of global warming, and other natural phenomena, excessive flooding could also arise from human activities.
It's all a matter of just having enough dam that when this water comes, it stays here. Those same dams can serve for irrigation when the rainy seasons are out. They can also serve as a source of power generation. But we do not make use of all of those. We do not have all of those contingent plans. Yes, people are saying that because they opened the dam in Cameroon. Of course, what will you expect? Even if they don't open the dam will overflow its bank, and it will eventually pull, the dam down, or it overflows and cause more devastating effect. So, and you cannot help somebody who is not helping himself. So, of course, the only option they have is to open it because you cannot block waterways. So, whether they open it or not, it will still come to affect us. So now, the flooding is something. It's like this because one, like I've said, the excess rainfall, which is as a result of global warming. And global warming, we know that is more of an anthropogenic effect, that the effect of human activities, the way we manage our waste, the way the level of industrialization that have actually changed the entire configuration of the global temperature.
Some Nigerians also suggest dredging of the two major rivers by the federal government as crucial steps towards mitigating flood disasters in Nigeria.
Without the silting, there's a way that you push in water, after clearing the debris, the water will open the course again, will reopen the course again. I give the example of the Okpokom River, which we're familiar with. Those big trees, these things are growing just because there is no water entering there. If you have water entering there, it will eventually clear. And at what point is it blocked? It is at the point of entry of the water from the main cross river that it would have entered into the tributary. That of Bokom is a tributary of the cross river, but it is the entrance, the mouth, quote unquote, is silted, and so it is water can't enter there, and there are a lot of other human activities that block that channel. So
we have found out, even working in the committee on ecological fund, is that some of the heads of the subnationals, they receive money that it is supposed to be invested in taking care of specific things, but they don't do that. We found that out through investigations on the ecological fund. The states get money on ecological issues. The local government, the same. Question, where does this money go and what have they been using it to do? Why is it that they're always relying on the federal government to come and do these things? So subnationals can come in, and that's why we refer to ourselves as federating units. Expert note that human activities such as building houses and other structures on waterways and throwing refuse on drainages are also contributing to the problem, while calling on regulatory authorities to ensure that defaulters face the wrath of the law.
This year's flooding was no doubt unprecedented and requires far-reaching solutions and preventive measures by the government and the governed. The federal government has already set the ball rolling in search of solutions with a presidential directive to the Minister of Water Resources to coordinate a committee to develop a comprehensive plan of action for preventing flood disaster in Nigeria. Let's hear more from Oyeyemi Ajayi.
2022 is 1 year filled so far with some unforgettable events, as no part of the country was spared the effects of ravaging floods. This has led to many questions on why this year's flood has gone down as the worst in Nigeria's history.
But high one this year is the intensity of rainfall and the distribution too, and the duration and the concentration, because rainfalls can be distributed evenly over a long period, or it can come suddenly in a short period. So the effect is always what happens in terms of flooding and the intensity of the flood. No, it's natural, it's high rainfall, concentrated within a short period. And the valleys, some of the valleys were no more capable of conveying the water effectively. So we have bank overflow, and then the delivery to certain points that are already flattened.
Talking about climate change, global warming. So when you have a weather pattern that you experience heavy amount of rainfall for a short period or even a longer period, that makes the earth already saturated and there's no place to pass through, enter inside the soil. It will generate overland flow, what we call flooding. If the amount of rainfall that normally occurs over a period of about 5 months in the year, some parts of the north, maybe they experience about 5 months of rainy season. And then if we aggregate them together, rainfall amount, and it's related that a particular amount comes to happen within a week, it means that flooding will occur. Like what happened in Jigawa. Maybe a place that's supposed to have about 800 millimeters of rainfall in a year. All of a sudden, within 4 hours, you have about 400 millimeters. So there's no space to enter. The earth will vomit it. You can't accept it. Like somebody who is drinking alcohol, maybe, or you have taken so much and you are taking, you end up vomiting. So the earth has taken so much.
concerned by the flood disasters. President Muhammadu Buhari directed the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, to develop a comprehensive plan of action for the prevention of flood disaster in the country within 90 days, in collaboration with his counterparts in the Ministries of Environment and Transportation.
90 days started from the 3rd of November when the inauguration took place. So 90 days from then.
The Presidential Committee on Flood Prevention has since been inaugurated, and the task of coming up with a comprehensive flood prevention plan for present and future generations of Nigeria now rests squarely on these men and women. Experts are already setting the agenda for the committee.
1. Assess and review existing plans and policies on management of flood disasters in Nigeria. 2. Identify and work with critical stakeholders in flood disaster management. 3. Identify and visit selected strategic flood-affected and prone areas. 4. Carry out technical evaluation of information obtained from the assessment. 5. Liaise and work with international organizations with expertise on flood management where necessary. And 6. Develop a comprehensive action plan for preventing flood disasters in the country.
The experts also speak on ways of managing the nation's water resources in order to avert subsequent flood in the future.
We really have to manage our water resources more effectively now. We are looking at what we've done before, what we need to do, and then the way it should be done too. So those are things we are looking at now, but we have to manage a bit more effectively.
The dredging of the rivers Niger and Benue had been described as a major step to avert flood in the country, in addition to allowing the free flow of gutters.
That has been on the news for quite some years now, on the need to dredge rivers Niger and Benue. Frankly speaking, if the two rivers are dredge them, that will deepen the current capacity of the rivers. There's a lot of siltation on River Niger, River Benue, and even our dams. Some of them are over, like Kainji Dam is about, I think, 1968 completed. Jeba Dam 1984 or thereabouts completed. So Jeba is almost 40 years. Kainji is 50-something years old. That means the capacity as was designed then is no longer what we have now. So there's a need to even desilt the dams. Studies have been carried out with regard to the dam to know what we call bathymetric survey that will give you what is the amount of sediment that is in this dam. Now, I know that sometime in 2008 or so, the dredging of the Lower Niger was commenced. Lower Niger means from Baro, somewhere in Baro in Niger State, down to Warri. I don't really have, I can't say for sure what eventually happened. It's a huge business. It is quite tasking. It's quite involving financially. I listened to Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, talking about training the river. How many billions is it going to cost? I think they make about $14 billion or thereabouts. They go pari passu. The issue of dredging and training the river. Training the river is like a child growing up. If you don't take care of the child to train the child can start misbehaving. So you can train. The river want to meander, go like this. You can train it to use some structures built by the banks and say, this is where I want you to go. River training. While you are training the river, you dredge the river as well. But then, before you come to the main issue of Niger and Benue, which is quite involving financially, there are several rivers, streams, in the various states in Nigeria that you can easily desilt. I'm sure, I know, here in the FCT, Emergency Management Agency, has been in the field. We call it FEMA, FCT, Emergency Management Agency, desilting various canals in Abuja. You see them there in the field, working, clearing the gutters, all the rivers within the city and in the communities, in the villages, desilting them, clearing them. We want the same to be replicated in the states. There are small rivers in the states that need to be desilted. Forget about the major ones, maybe River Niger or River Benue. Small rivers within the states. Let the state government desilt them.
Many highways in the country exist without drainages, which experts note also contributed to this year's devastating floods. Government at all levels, contractors and construction engineers have been urged to always bear these in mind while constructing major roads.
First of all, we can hold the water back in some reservoirs and release when necessary. That is one. Also, even the practice, our forest reserves, our watershed management, many other things that should be done. Our river valleys, how to train the river properly to move in the way we want. Then also try to see the capacity of the river valleys to convey water. And then when it conveys it, we also look at where it's going to deposit it. So we should look at it holistically. It's not just picking one and this is a comprehensive work they're giving us. So we're going to look at even the attitude of human beings on the environment. It's very important. And the way we manage our cities, the way we plan our cities, even normal development, the ways we pave our roads, the gutters that are supposed to be there, culverts, bridges that should be sufficient to convey water, all this must be put in place. And we must, if you have a reservoir, the way you operate it, and you must give enough notice to people when you're operating this. Then we also look at a situation when natural events happen to a structure. If a structure is destroyed and the flooding is there, we're going to look at it too.
It is definitely the hope of Nigerians that the 90-day ultimatum of the president will birth solutions and practical steps and projects that will be implemented to avert future flood disasters in the country. Citizens are likewise expected to play their roles in ensuring a safer country devoid of devastating floods.
Certainly, a lot of synergy will be required to produce a robust plan to prevent and manage flood disasters in Nigeria. And many are of the view that we can turn our challenges to opportunities with effective management of our water resources. That's where we leave it for 30 minutes today. Join us next week for another episode of the program. I am Itaire Ikben. Bye for now.